Good morning, grinders, for the second time this morning. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blenderhead, Blender HD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Friday for the second time. I know we had audio issues before, so this is if you didn't find if the chat people didn't find me, we had to create a new stream. And hopefully this will go as long as we can. I mean, we had audio issues before. Maybe they'll pop up again, but I'll go as long as we can. I can't tell if there's echo or I sound like a robot or something like that. Something's going on with StreamYard. I have no idea. So just let me know, and let me know in the YouTube chat. Give me those thumbs ups if you're here. We'll be going over the MMA slate, the UFC 280 slate for tomorrow. Remember, it's early. Okay, don't wake up late. It's a 10:30 a.m. start time. Okay, so if you think it's at like 6 o'clock Eastern, it'll be over by then. Okay, so don't put in your lineups and be like, okay, I can wait until the end. No, remember it's early because it's in the Middle East. So the pay-per-view itself starts at like what 1, 2, something like that. But the preliminary card starts at 10:30 a.m. and it was going to be 10 a.m. but 2 fights were canceled. The Mustafiev Nishikawa fight was canceled like 2 days ago because for some reason, like Nishikawa is like contracted to some other promotion, and he can't even fight in this. He can't fight in the UFC. For I don't know how they booked that. I don't know how that happens. And then last night at the weigh-ins, that Tukagov and Almeida that was canceled. They couldn't make weight. Someone couldn't make weight. Something. They didn't even bother getting to the scales. And then also we have Caitlin Chikagian came in 1.5 pounds over. I'm assuming that fight's going to still be on. I haven't seen anything. She'll just forfeit some part of her purse. And now it's a 12 fight card. And that first fight, the Mustafiev fight, getting scrapped. I mean, yes, it removes 2 fighters that you could use in less duplicated lineups, but it was like the 9,400, 6,800 fight or whatever. Like, okay, that didn't change necessarily a lot of constructions. If you were going to play Mustaev, you could have played Jan, you could have played Rosa, Petrosian, you could have played other 9K fighters. But this $8,300, $7,900 fight between Tukagov and Almeida, like that's a much bigger deal because we have these main event, these whatever, the 2 5-round fights, the championship fights are both closer fights, and that's why they're mid-range priced. So Sterling's 8,500, Dillashaw's 7,700, Makhachev's 8,400, Oliveira's 7,800. It's hard to not build lineups without someone from one of these 2 fights. I mean, they're right in the mid-range. Like you can go barbell, that it's an option. But also with these 5-round fights, like the likelihood especially on a 12-fight card now, the likelihood of at least one of the winners of these 2 fights not being in the optimal is quite low. Okay. So I know I'm the big person that, I like fading the over-owned 5-round fights, but we got 2 of them. You got to dodge both of them, and they're both mid-price. So it's not like, oh, well, if Makhachev only puts up 100 points, it's like he's 8,400. 100 may be fine at 8,400. It's not like he's 9,400, right? Makhachev is more of the $9,600 fighter that's minus 1,200 to win, right? Most likely he destroys Malcolm Gordon, but like if he only puts up 110, it's possible that he's not in the optimal. But these main event fighters, like if they put up 110, like they're 8,400, 8,500, it's hard not to. So this is not one of these slates, especially with them now only being 12 fights, and we're losing another mid-range fight that we could target instead of these main events, these 5-rounders. Like I'm not playing any lineup that doesn't have at least one. Right? I'm typically someone that likes fading the over-owned 5-round fights, but with 2 of them, I can't see. I will have at least one. Maybe I won't make as many with 2. Right? You don't play Makhachev and Dillashaw. That's going to be the popular combination. But even if you play Sterling plus Oliveira, I mean, we still have Sterling at 40% owned and Oliveira at 30% owned. But it's hard not to have these fighters in your lineups because how do you build lineups otherwise? Unless you're going way up and way down, which you can do. But I think the likelihood of like one of these main event winners is going to be optimal. Like one of them. Maybe not both, but one of them. I think the Makayev, like if you build Makayev, Makachev, Dillashaw, like this may be the combo to like maybe avoid. Right? Because this is going to be the most popular combo. The $9,600 million, whatever, minus 1,200 favorite. An enormously high ceiling. He's a wrestler. So even in a decision, he could score like 130 points. Then the main event favorite and the co-main underdog with Dillashaw. You have 8,100 left in salary, and like, where do you go? I mean, yeah, there are combinations. We could try building. Let's see. We're going to build 300 like this. There's probably plenty of combinations, but how many? Especially for large field, while not playing, not stacking fights. If there's any fight that, if out of the 2 5-rounders to stack, Sterling Dillashaw, if anything. But I still GPPs. Let stacking is overowned, and do you want a loss in your lineup? It's rare that a stack is the optimal. It happens. I'm not admitting that it doesn't happen, but it happens way less frequently than people will roster it. You will see plenty of people stacking one of these 5-round fights. And in cash, okay, that makes sense in cash games. But in GPPs, there's a lot of combinations. 300, especially if you leave money on the table. Right? You get a lot of O'Malley, Landsberg. Yeah, you have to pay all the way down at some point. I think the fight that's going to be the most overowned based on its ceiling is the Jan O'Malley fight. Because people are not used to seeing Sean O'Malley at 6,900. Because typically O'Malley is a big favorite. Right? Typically he's 8,800, 8,900, 9,000. Peter Yan is normally, normally a favorite in a fight. But people are going to look and go, wow, I get to pay 6,900 for Sean O'Malley? Yeah, but he's a minus whatever the hell. I mean, what is he? He's a plus 225 underdog with a plus 500 inside the distance probability. He is where he's supposed to be. He should be in that range. And Peter Yan also, plus 250 inside the distance. I think for like cash games, playing O'Malley, it goes the distance, gets some striking, probably loses. But at least his floor is high. I get it, but at 26% ownership, do you see O'Malley knocking out Yan? I mean, yeah, obviously it could happen. Plus 500, right? When we have a 17% implied probability. But I think for the ownership, I think way overowned. I have O'Malley overowned. I have Yan both overowned. They're name value. You go, Yan O'Malley, I got to roster one of those guys. It's like, most likely this ends in a decision. Most likely this ends in a split decision or 29-28 unanimous type of thing. And if you play Yan at 9,300, how does he get there without wrestling? There's no guarantee that Peter Yan even goes to any type of grappling, which probably would be good against O'Malley, but does he even need to? Yan really isn't a prolific grappler. He does trips and stuff, but he ain't doing double legs. He really isn't doing that type of stuff. So I think the Yan O'Malley fight, I have it in the expert survey. For the premium people, right, if you're a premium member, click on that link in the description, get $10 off your first month of a combo premium package. The expert survey, this is the fight to avoid, right? Because of ownership. The obvious fight to avoid is Fiorot and Chookagian, because Caitlin Chookagian fights are always pretty low ceiling, or typically low ceiling. But the ownership is with it. I mean, Chookagian, I have it like 9% owned, and Fiorot at 18% owned. Like at that ownership, I'll take a shot. But if I have Peter Yan at 24 and O'Malley at 24, I have about 45% of ownership to that fight. I think that's way overowned. And it's primarily name value. If you take a look at my little spreadsheet here, of course, I fill it in with, around the industry projections and ownership, right? I change around some numbers, right? This is just preliminary today. The fights that I have overowned, Yan O'Malley. What's another overowned fight? I've Caio Baralho, a little bit overowned. I have the Gamrot Dariush fight I have over-owned. And that's another name value fight. Like, you can go, oh, Mateusz Gamrot against Beneil Dariush. These are names that I know. That fight, Gamrot Dariush would main event an Apex card. But as far as these inside the distance lines, it's 244 plus 244 inside the distance for Gamrot, plus 450 for Dariush. Is there going to be a finish in this fight? I don't know. They kind of cancel each other out to some extent. Probably Gamrot wins, but I think the name value of Dariush is going to inflate his ownership a bit. And same for Gamrot. I think that fight is over-owned for its ceiling. I said in the Esper survey, I think there's a max of 4 finishes on the entire slate. A max. I think it's going to be 4 or less finishes out of 12. Out of 12 now. And you're going to need all 4 of them. So whatever four finishes there are, you're going to need them. So that's why you're prioritizing fights that could get to a finish. I think the most under-owned fight for that purpose is Armen Petrosyan versus AJ Dobson. Petrosyan plus 105 inside the distance. Dobson is plus 260 inside the distance. And Dobson is 7,100. So I have him as the highest leverage underdog on the slate. I have him projected for 21% ownership as of right now. I Petrosyan at like 27. I'm going to have a lot of that fight. But understand that fight, that's a 5-minute fight. Okay, understand for the, maybe not for Dobson, but for Petrosyan, like these aren't wrestlers. This is going to be a fist fight. This is going to be a striking matchup. So it's like Petrosyan's pretty much got 5 minutes to get a knockout, or he's not going to score 100 points. Does Dobson need to score 100 points at 7,100? No. So a second round finish, third round finish, Dobson's more likely to be optimal than Petrosyan at 9,100. So I will have my two biggest, the underdogs I will have the most of are Dobson at 7,100, Muradov, because I have Baralho is a little bit over-owned, Muradov at 7,200. But Muradov is in a very similar situation. He's got like 5 minutes. And also, like Caio Baralho is most likely going to try to take him down. And if he has any success with that, like it'll bleed, ceiling away from Muradov. So Muradov basically has to knock him out or get on top before Baralho. Baralho pretty much like he gets you to the ground and kind of like he doesn't do enough ground and pound. That's why I think his ceiling is much lower. He goes for submissions more so than, try to score points. Then the third guy that I have is Gadzi Ormagardiev. He's plus 415 inside the distance, but he has wrestling upside against Abubakar Nurmagomedov, who I don't necessarily think is the greatest of fighters. So I'll be mixing those guys in more so than the O'Malley's and the Dariush's. Even the Ozdemir, I think people go to Ozdemir plus 255, which is fine. But that's a fight to target also. Like to me, if you're looking for finishes, the fights to target would be Makayev, not Gordon, but Makayev, Petrosyan, Dobson, Krylov, Ozdemir, and Makachev Oliveira. There's less likely, like Sterling Dillashaw, there's less likely to be a finish, but it doesn't mean that in a decision these guys don't score well, right? Because you have 5 rounds of fighting. But I think the loser of the Islam Makhachev Oliveira fight doesn't score that well because I think this fight is over within 3 rounds, if not within 1 or 2. Someone either Oliveira gets a submission or knocks out Islam, or Makhachev gets on top and just destroys Oliveira. It's gonna be one of the two. And these other fights, less of a priority. I'm gonna play a bunch of Cara Rosa because I'm a glutton for punishment. Typically the overpriced female favorite, minus 330, second biggest favorite on the slate, goes under-owned. And I have her as under-owned. But what's her ceiling in a decision? I'm not sure. But there's no reason why her betting lines look very similar to Peter Yan, and more people are going to play Peter Yan. So I'm going to play some Cara Rosa. But there's not that many combinations here. The thing is that you're going to have to play a main event fight. You're going to have to play a 5-rounder. It's almost impossible to avoid them. Unless you're going to build like Makayev plus Petrosian plus Fioro and then play O'Malley and Muradov and Dariush, some type of lineup like that. You can, but it's just at the 5-round fights at these prices, it's hard. It's hard for both of them to fail. It's hard. We got people in the chat. Give me those thummy thumbs. It'll be a short show today, right? We got some audio issues. Just wanted to go through the MMA slate. Giving you free people. We got the grounded pound, which where the audio issues started. I mean, we've gone 15 minutes and no problems. So seems pretty good. But we had problems last night, and I thought they would be fixed by this morning. But so they break down. I still haven't listened to it. So Mike and Liam, they go over that for the premium people. Well, obviously, we have all the projections and ownership and everything for you back there. So sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. You get NFL, combo Premium. You get NFL, NBA. Look how many sports are going on. PGA, MMA, soccer. Get all of it for one price. You get the access to the Discord with all the sports channels. They're always active. My own channel in there, Blender's Game Theory. You can ask me anything you want at any time. It's fine. Anything in the YouTube chat. Clint F asks, good morning. Lifetime profitable player. Advice on bankroll management to be aggressive to try to grow bankroll to play bigger, but still have low risk of ruin. Currently playing 5% on NFL main, 2% on early and old. It's hard to tell without, that's up to you. It's up to your edge. In general, put more money where you have the biggest edge. Put less money where you have less edge. It's very simple. How much you have bankroll wise per slate? You could do some type of Kelly formula, but Kelly's not very good for DFS because Kelly assumes that you could distinctly, accurately define your edge. You're going to be way too aggressive if you're like, oh yeah, well I think I have a 5.6% edge based on whatever sample size you have. Whatever sample size you have is not enough. It's not; these aren't fixed probabilities, and also different slates are different. Maybe your strengths are geared for larger slates versus smaller slates, for larger fields versus smaller fields, for head-to-heads versus triple ups versus. I mean, there's no such thing as a correct bankroll management. There's literally no such thing. It will depend on It will depend on yourself alone. When people ask me, what do you do? It doesn't matter what I do. How much do you play in soccer cash games? How much percent of your bankroll should you play in EPL soccer cash games? Well, you shouldn't play what I do. I'll play. I post 215 head-to-heads, and I don't mind taking it from anyone, other than Saramek and Pew 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 and Redcoat and the regular sharps and any rando, dude. I'm gonna be a good 65%, 65-35 against some rando in soccer. You're not, right? So I don't mind devoting more of my bankroll to EPL soccer DFS. NHL, I don't even play NHL. How much would I bother my bankroll on NHL? Right? So it all depends on your own edge and then your own risk tolerance. MMA, I play much higher than I do in other sports. Not NFL. So I believe I have more of an edge in MMA than I do in NBA. Depending on the field size, it depends on what it is. And it also depends on the slate. On certain slates, I think I have more of an edge than on other slates. I think on a slate like tomorrow for UFC, I have a bigger edge. Yet that last week, I thought I barely have an edge. I like slates where more of the fights are even. I like larger cards. Now, obviously, this started as a 14-fight card, right? So a 14-fight card where most of the fights are within 2-1, I like the most because you could leave 1,000 on salary and still keep a very decent win probability. And then you have multiple combinations that you can make that are going to be less duplicated. On cards where like half the fighters are 3-1, 4-1 favorites, like underdogs winning is good for sharps, typically in MMA. Because typically most people play 50K style lineups, 49-9 lineups. And they'll play 49-9, 49-8, 550K lineups that don't contain a very low-owned fighter. So you get a lot of duplication in those slates, unless you're willing to build differently. And when you're able to build differently and still maintain good enough win probability, those are the best slates. But on the slates where like everyone's a 4-1 favorite, it's like, how do I leave 2,000 on the table? The likelihood is that like no underdog will win, right? Like one underdog will win, and that lineup will be duped 64 times. So how much money do I want to put down on that type of slate versus a slate where there are easily plenty of 49-3 lineups that have as much or close to as much win equity as a 49-7 lineup that is duplicated 4 or 5 times more. So that's why I like tomorrow's slate. But still, these inside the distance lines I don't think there's going to be more than 4 finishes tomorrow. I think it'll be a low scoring slate in general. The winning score may still be like 650, 660 or something like that. But I think in general, we'll see a lot more decisions. And whatever finishes there are, you're going to pretty much need them. And it could be it could be Manon Fiorot. Could be 22% inside the distance. It could happen. She's going to be less than 22% owned. I'll take a shot. Right? I'm playing a bunch of lines. I'm playing 75 lineups in large field, 6 lineups in single entry 3 max. But like I said, to review from before, it's going to be very hard for you to build a good lineup without at least one 5-round fighter in it because of the pricing. If both fights were the $92, $9,300 range, favorites, they could win and then not score enough that some other 9K fighter beats them. That's the dynamic for those types of 5-round main events. But when it's a close fight in the middle, it's like they don't even need to score that high. And they're getting 5 rounds. So Aljamain Sterling in a 5-round decision with 4 takedowns and control time and ground and pound and something like that, you could easily score 100 points in 5 rounds. And you go, oh, what's 100 points? Well, they had 9,300. 100 points may not be good enough for the optimal. But at 8,500, much more likely. So that's what I'd be doing, playing at least one of the 2 5-round fights. I'm more likely to just play one. I will have more lineups with just one. So if I have Makhachev in, I don't have the Sterling Dillashaw fight in that lineup. Leaving some money on the table doesn't mean you have to leave 2,000, although you could. I'll probably still have plenty of Makhachev at 9,600. More likely to have Makhachev, one of the main event fighters, the 2 5-round fighters, and then leaving 300 on the table or something like that. Like I said before, I think the Jan O'Malley fight is overowned because of name value, and I think the Gamrot Dariush fight is very similar. And if we're looking for finishes, the fights to target, other than Makhachev, obviously, are Petrosian, Dobson, Caio Borralho, and Muradov, although I prefer the Muradov side based on how Borralho fights. I think Borralho has a great floor, but I'm not convinced that unless he gets a submission, that he's not going to score that as well as it seems like he should in a decision. The Krylov Ozdemir fight. I mean, you could just look at the ITD lines. I'm not saying anything that isn't. Just take a look and just add them up. Right? Add up the 2 ITD lines of 2 fighters, and whichever one's the lowest, those are the fights to target. And then Makhachev Oliveira. Right? Makhachev is a 100. Oliveira is plus 195. I think Islam Makhachev has a much higher ceiling than Oliveira, which is sad because Charles Oliveira is probably my favorite fighter in UFC. So I will be rooting, right? If it'll be the main event, and as long as I don't have a shot at like winning first in anything, I'll be rooting for Du Bronx. I'll be rooting for Charles Oliveira. And he's always an underdog. He's always an underdog. It's Oliveira at plus money is like, that's common, very common. But to me, this is the fight of the year, right? Islam versus Oliveira. So looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this card even if I wasn't playing DFS. That's how much I've been watching UFC. At least the two fights that we got rid of weren't like they were fine. I mean, I would have liked to see Tukagov versus Almeida. That would have been fine. Mustafiev, I don't know when the last time he's fought. I think his fights have been canceled like 3 different times. But we got 12 fights tomorrow. We got 12 fights. Remember, 10:30 in the morning Eastern. That's when lock is. So get up early. Get up early, just like you get up early for this show. We got tons of stuff going on later today on the channel. We got NFL shows. I got the premium game theory show with Tuttle, right? That'll be posted for premium members only. So sign up for Combo Premium. Sign up for the NFL package. You'll get that behind the paywall. Got NBA Grinders live later today. Crunch Time. Remember, Crunch Time now is free. It used to be a premium show. Now it's free. It's with Andy Means, with Roth, with whoever's on also for tournament takes. Crunch Time goes. We start Grinders live at like 5 Eastern. Then that bleeds right into 6:30 Crunch Time. And by the time 7 o'clock lock happens, 18 things of news have happened. Right? This guy's sitting. That guy's a Kawhi. Comes off the bench, and who knows if he's going to play? Who knows? Who knows if Kawhi Leonard's going to even play today? We didn't know yesterday. We didn't know. Just sitting there. Welcome to NBA season. That's what NBA is. But we'll be talking a lot more about NBA, especially midweek, right? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. While NFL is not going on as much, right? We got Showdown and stuff. So tune into that. We got all the stuff. We got the Blitz show for premium members. We got tournament takes. We got the solo ship show for NFL. We got all the NBA premium content. We got so much stuff here. So sign up for Combo Premium. You get the MMA stuff. You get everything. Why? It's one-stop shop for all your needs of DFS and sports betting as well. I mean, you get to use the statistical projections, right? That's what I'll be doing, right? I'll be on Prize Picks looking at the NBA stuff for tonight, right? Oh, got more okay, I got to go through this, right? We got the statistical projections. If you're a premium member, you know what else you get? You get the browser extension. So if like NBA, it'll just put our statistical projections on the Prize Picks. So you can compare and you can go, oh, this is too high, this is too low, right? We could look through, we could find some, maybe we could find some today. Mason Plumlee. Do we play Mason Plumlee? Oh, look at this. DeMar DeRozan, 27.5 points. We have him at 34.84. Looks like I'll be playing a bunch of DeMar DeRozan over on 27.5 points. Looks like that. You'll get this. You can get this. You can get this if you're a premium member. So sign up today. Sign up. What are you waiting for? Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door, and I'll be back on Monday. We had no audio issues. We went half an hour, no audio issue. Hopefully that's all in the past. It's all in the past. And I'll see you in the future. Answering your DFS strategy questions like I typically do, without audio problems. Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.